ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, and all of the space aliens at home. I am Geoffrey Hill, the host of this show this evening and every single evening. And I am really excited today because today we all get to learn how to spell. Spelling is such an important thing. The first word on our spelling test today is Dombrowski. Dombrowski. It stands for comedian, and I'm going to introduce you to him in just a second. Quip.
Story did I read yesterday?
You were telling of your conversation with the monster. Let you make me a companion. All those whom you love shall die at my hand.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed The Virus by my filmmaker friend George Harrington, coming here on October 28th. Make sure you watch October 28th for George Harrington. Now, today I mentioned it's a spelling test. I want to introduce you to the man whose name is at the top of the spelling test. It's Joe Dombrowski. Come on to the show. Joe, welcome to the show. This is my buddy Joe. Let's get a close-up shot there.
Jeff, thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you've been had. I'm going to sit right down here in my chair, and we're going to have you, all of you, every single last bite. Look at that. You look so good.
Thank you.
Nice frame. Did you do the Asian, you got to do the Asian thing right here.
I didn't. This is my go-to. Just a little cutesy little one of these.
It looks really good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So,
I've been practicing.
Oh, you do? You practice that all the time? Do you stand in
Yes.
front of the mirror and just go...
It's part of the job, baby. It's part of the job.
Most definitely. Well, when you're getting famous, because we were taking a look at your numbers, and the numbers are coming up apparently. You're getting famous.
Climbing.
I messaged a guy who I thought would not know who you were. And I said, Joe Dombrowski's coming on the show. I'm going to mess your name up 3,000 times.
You got it right on the first time.
Dombrowski.
Dombrowski, yeah.
Dombrowski. We're going to try to spell that. So I told him Joe Dombrowski's coming on the show, and I just sort of randomly sent a message to a guy on Facebook, right? I don't even know these people. And he's like, oh my gosh, that's so great. Can I come into the studio? I said, yeah, you can be the studio audience. So we have a studio audience here, one guy right there.
I love it. Hey.
Yeah. He's here. You can hear the crowd. Really exciting. So how did this whole thing, I mean, this is a question you've had answered a bazillion times, but I haven't heard it yet. How did you get famous?
There's an origin story. And I was teaching. I was an elementary school teacher for over 10 years.
What grades?
I don't know if you know this, but the word teacher is synonymous with the word poor person. So you have to work a second job typically to make some additional income. And mine was... Walmart greeter's a good one. Stand-up comedy is a better one. So I was doing stand-up while I was teaching, just to kind of like put gas in my car and to pay for lunches here and there. Nothing significant. And I started to build a little bit of a local name for myself in Detroit. And then I made a shift and I started rewriting my content based around things that were happening in my classroom at the time. And when I did that, things really started to spiral in the Detroit area. Then I put a video out there of myself giving an April Fool's fake spelling test to my class with all fake words. And it went massively viral with about 20 million views overnight. And from there, the ball just kept going. I was getting phone calls every day to do different TV appearances. And a big one was Ellen DeGeneres. And she had me on her show a couple times and really helped me set my career on fire. And she actually even told me, she's like, "You're really funny. You should do something with your comedy." And I was like, if Ellen's telling me this, I have to take it more seriously. And at that moment, I doubled down on myself and just really started to write more and do more shows and get my name out there. And it's been very successful. It's got me where I'm at today.
Have you always been funny, or is it like you had to learn?
I will say this, I've always been wildly outgoing and extroverted. I think it took me a while to rein it in, to craft my funny. I'm willing to bet younger me, everybody said I was just annoying. but now I have it honed in a little bit.
You weren't the class clown, or you were the class clown all the time?
Always.
Climbing and dancing on the desks?
Year.
You made going to the principal's office an exciting moment?
100%.
What was the best time you ever spent in the principal's office?
We had indoor recess because we're from Michigan, so snow will keep you in. And I used my teacher's teacher phone to call the local radio station to get my class on the radio. And I was successful.
Really?
However, the teachers in the teacher's lounge were listening to that radio station.
Oh boy.
As it happened. So that didn't go so well for me.
Definitely not. So spend a little time out there getting to know the principal. This was before the days of spanking or after the days of spanking? You don't look old enough for that.
Looks can be deceiving. No, I was definitely not in the era of spanking at school. But I did get a very stern talking to. And I think I got taken out of the talent show, which to me, obviously, devastated.
Oh, most definitely. If you can't do talent, you can't do talent.
Hello?
So what made you think of in your class, did you always do goofy things, or is just that April Fool's joke was just a one-time deal? Or were they used to this? Because I'm watching the clip and they seem so into this, like it was real.
Yeah, my philosophy in life is I don't do anything unless it's enjoyable for me. And when I was in the classroom, the moments that kept me teaching were just having fun with the kids and playing little fun, silly pranks on them every once in a while to keep them engaged and want to be in school. So I really taught through a lens of making school a place where I made the kids want to be rather than they feel like they have to be. And when I did that, I noticed that there was a big shift in their excitement, their enjoyment, their desire to learn and get into. I was constantly keeping them on their toes with pranks and jokes and silly voices and costumes or whatever it was. It was like my own PBS show, edutainment, if you will. And that was just who I am.
School every day.
When I would put videos out there every once in a while, it was just giving you a snapshot of the way that I teach.
That'd be really fun. Broadway every single day in class.
Something like that. A few less microphones and backup dancers, but it was great.
But now you are not teaching any longer.
Correct. I'm not teaching any longer, full-time comedy. But in the middle of the pandemic, there was a huge teacher shortage, still is.
You went on the
so many older
list?
Teachers. I didn't actually. I took a full-time teaching position and taught kindergarten. I went back. All my tour dates were gone. I still had my degree. And my certificate, and I felt like I was able to help out. So there was a position at the elementary school that was right by my house. I had never taught there before, but I applied and they took me like instantly, and I taught kindergarten that school year.
Probably a good thing it was kindergarten, because if you'd have taught high school, they'd be like, I saw this guy's spelling test. You just have to know up front, nothing he says is real. Every single test is a false test. They would never believe you.
Well, yes, but in kindergarten, it was their parents who were aware of who I was. So that was a dizzy little dance that I had to do also.
Yeah, how did they react? We're going to play this clip a little later too. How did they react to that whole parents clip that you make fun of the parents on? We have to show that, but let's answer that at that time. Right now, we're going to go play a little commercial, or actually, no, I'm seeing on the prompter it says, let's play the clip of the spelling bee because, well, it's really good. Let's roll that.
All right, going through the list with the spelling. You're checking your own list. Here we go. The first word was Blorski. I lost my Blorski at a carnival. B-L-O-R-S-K-E-E. E-E. The next word was tangentine. I eat my spaghetti with a tangentine. That it's T-A-N-G-E-T-E-E-N. Tangentine. The next word is spiku. Look, there's a spiku. S-P-E-E-K-U-Z-S-L-M-N. There's silent letters at the end of that one. Yep. Spiku. S-P-E-E-K-U-Z-S-L-M-N.
What?
Yep. It's not. Nope. It's actually from somewhere else, not here. The next word was amata. Students said they were sick. I said, was amata with you? W-A-Z-A-M-A-T-A. Was amata. Was amata. The next word is slippert. Be careful when you're sleeping. There might be a slippert in your house. Slippert. S-L-I-P-E-R-T. Slippert. Nice. The next word is ch-ch-ch. The horse was angry, so I said ch-ch-ch. That's C-H-C-H-C-H. Nice. Nice work. The last word is Rolaskatox. Rolaskatox was surprised when Jinx took the crown. That's R-O-L hyphen.
What?
A-S-K-A hyphen. T-O-X. If you didn't get the hyphens, I'm sorry, you got that word wrong. The word is Rolaskatox. The next word was spinach. My favorite food is spinach and artichoke dip. That's S-P-E-E-N-U-C-H. Spinach. The next word is shabola. Be careful that you do not catch shabola. S-H-A-B-O-L-A-S-K-P. More silent letters. S-H-A-B-O-L-A-S-K-P. Shabola. The next word is gur. My friend told me a secret. I looked at her and said, gur. That's G-U with an umlaut. That's 2 dots over the U. R-R-R. G-U with an umlaut. R-R-R. Your next word, number 11, is April Fools, because this is an April Fool's joke! Close enough. April Fools. Congratulations, turn in your test. This will be on your report card.
I love it. This is hilarious. Like what?
I haven't watched the full video in a while. That was nice.
It was funny. Like a slipper and a Rolaxkamaka, whatever.
We're gonna say yes.
Didn't anybody in class even have any idea? I mean, you're like making up shabola. You're going to catch some shabola. Nobody had any idea that it was fake.
Yes, one did. One definitely did. I had one kid. His name was Andrew. He was just a fast, bright kid, but he was one of the kindest and sweetest kids that I had in the class too. So
he just played.
He looked at me, and we made this little nonverbal agreement in that moment where he told me he knew what was going on, but he also agreed that he wasn't going to spoil it for everybody else. And I was so worried that he was going to be like, you guys, it's fake. He's just lying. It's all fake. And he was sitting right in front, too.
Well, he's like, two dudes forking at the class, so it's going to be okay.
He knew not to spoil it for everybody else.
Sweet. Hilarious.
Yeah, great kid. Great kid.
I mean, what made you come up with the idea in the first place? Do you just get bored? And those words.
Oh, for sure. I think teaching is such a thankless job, and people, I think, take for granted how difficult it is, because teaching in itself is simple. Teaching 27 completely different personalities with all different levels of baggage at the same time, that's the definition of psychotic. So these little things that I would do just kind of came as second nature because I had to keep them on their toes. I had to do something fun because that's who I am as a person. So doing these pranks just sort of, they would just come to me. And this one, I actually thought of it the day before. I was like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I just did fake words and just made them up? And the funny part about this video is actually, I made up almost all of those words completely on the spot, which was
really. See, I have
really
to admit, I got the dictionary out, and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
Slippered, is that a serious? Maybe it's real. No, there's
Could
no
be.
such thing as a slipper.
I guess I was walking on a very fine line that I could have walked into something not good, but it was still great. It was great.
Yeah, well, speaking for the parents, we know that teaching is easy. It works like this. The kids get up in the morning, we send them off to school, they have fun, and they come home. Teaching's easy.
So easy. You'd never believe it.
Yes.
The most difficult part of teaching is how much alcohol you have to consume after to stay sane.
Or maybe during class. Just don't tell anybody at home. Hey, we're going to continue this in a second,
You said it,
right
not me.
after this. Whoop.
So much is lost when we lose a loved one. Family history, personal information and experiences, wisdom, and so much more. This doesn't have to happen. The Remember Me Project captures the stories of your loved ones so they will live on for generations to come. The Remember Me Project gives families the opportunity to capture the life of their loved ones. We come and ask your elderly or sick family members questions about themselves, and that gets them telling their story. We make a professional video audio recording and transcription of the interview for your family. We then make it available to you on DVD, Blu-ray, and a professionally bound book to keep and enjoy their stories that we have gathered. Take advantage of this opportunity to gather the precious memories now. Call 888-210-2088. Again, that's 888-210-2088. Or click on the link below. The Remember Me Project is brought to you by the Television Public Broadcast Network in association with InMemorial.us.
I always like the music when it comes back, but I have no idea what they said. As I was watching the Remember Me Project, I was thinking, man, we should produce some fake commercials just for fun. I mean, you made a fake spelling test. And we make all these fake commercials about products that don't even exist.
Right.
So you went on Ellen DeGeneres, and then she's like, you need to work on your comedy and really turn this into something. Is that what started your stand-up career?
No, I was doing stand-up already. But when I went on the show, they very much wanted to focus on the teaching side of what I do and didn't really want to talk about comedy, which I was fine with. I knew that I could make something of this either way. But she was familiar that I was a working comedian, and she made some special time for me off camera to tell me, hey, I know you do comedy and you should really do something with that. And that's what really set it on fire for me to be like, I do comedy, and it's not just a side hustle. Like, it could be a career. It's been your dream for a while. So if this person who is at the upper echelon of comedy is telling you that you're talented and you should go for it, then why are you questioning yourself? And from that moment,
That's good advice.
Kept going. Yeah. I tripled down on myself at that moment.
Were you doing stand-up like in college and stuff, trying to get your teaching degree and pay for that, using stand-up as the way to pay for it?
The funny part is I actually did stand-up comedy for the first time when I was 8 years old for my third grade talent show. And people would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I would just say Jim Carrey is what I wanted to do. And as I kind of started doing comedy in college, I was experimenting doing improv, doing a little stand-up, some sketch comedy, just getting creative in comedic spaces, and then eventually found what I could do and what I was good at, and just kept going with it.
Just one after the other, all the way. I would love to see clips from that eighth grade moment, that very first one. You see them in movies, some kid.
8 years old. I was 8 years old, not 8th grade. It was even younger.
I have a hearing lisp, so sometimes my ears they turn off. I think it's an age thing, really. I just tune out, forget stuff.
It happens in teaching too.
That's true. So I don't have another question. I'm just going to say, let's watch this, because the clip we chose here, well, I almost fell out of my seat watching it. It's hilarious.
Thank you.
When I landed here, my driver picked me up. I was wearing this, trying to blend in. And he was like, yeah, UW-Madison. And I said, go Beavers. He looked at me, he's like, Badgers? Pulled the most teacher move ever. I was like, I was checking to make sure you're paying attention. Because let's be real, I don't know nothing about no beavers. Actually, quite allergic to all forms. If we're being...
Thank you.
It's one of those clips I'm just going to think about a long time. You just want to say beaver, beaver, beaver. Oh my gosh, I remember years ago, my brother and we would laugh at words that sound funny. Like, there's a company that does cell phones, and for some reason one day we thought that the word boost, like Boost Mobile, was funny. And if you just say it over and over and over, boost, next thing you know, it sounds funny, and then you say beaver, beaver, beaver. There's a fly on my nose.
Comedy is relative. It's whatever is funny to the individual. I love that.
So how do you come up with this content? I mean, this is a serious question I've always wanted to know, actually. You get on the stage, like myself. I don't try to be funny. It's not really who I am. So where does this stuff come from?
I'll go with concepts that I know are funny, or a big thing that I do is, if I'm in a group of people and I say something and they all laugh at it, I know that it has legs to stand on stage, so I'll put it in my phone, and then I'll think about what parts of that made it funny, and then break it down and put it into like actual joke structure, and then take it on stage and see how it does. But sometimes, like that joke that you just showed, that was just me talking on stage. That actually happened on my way to my hotel from the airport, and I just was like, tell this on stage and see how it comes out. And that's what it was. And sometimes that just works.
I never thought I'm gonna have to write jokes on my phone. I can't remember jokes for crap.
Oh my God, my notes section of my phone. This is my notes section of my phone for my jokes. Hold on. It's quite psychotic. Forever.
Holy smokes.
And ever.
Seriously.
And ever. It's not going to end.
Holy cow, that's like Beethoven of jokes, Mozart of jokes. Music just goes on.
Some of them are usable. I would put money that most of them are garbage, but either way, I have a lot to go off of. And then sometimes, actually, this is quite funny. I had a joke in there that I had written in there about 3 or 4 years ago that I totally forgot about. And I came across it probably about 6 months ago, so I put it in my show, and it kills every time. And one time I was in a staff meeting, and they told me that I had to switch and teach 5th grade social studies, and I told them, I don't know anything about social studies. The only thing I know about social studies is one time I met a drag queen named Nina Pinta Santa Maria, and everybody that I told it to laughed, so I wrote it in my notes. Forgot about it. 3 years later, put it in the show, and it kills every time.
That's funny. Especially in today's environment where you see drag queens in the news all the time.
All the time. It hits. It doesn't matter. One of the things, too, I focus on with my comedy is I'm not political. I'm talking about me, my life, my experience.
Sure.
And if that offends you, that's on you. But I don't do the politics thing. I just talk about what happened to me, where my thoughts go. If we're laughing at my life. So I want everybody to be a part of that. So I try to stick away from deep stuff in politics.
Well, it's a nice, safe formula that way, too. You don't have to offend half the country like our current White House leadership did recently.
There are, it happens with everybody. And I think the biggest thing for me is I just want it to be, when you come to a Joe Dombrowski show, I want that hour and a half that we're together. It's an escape from the world. You get too much garbage on your TV that, upsets you for one way or another. It seems like everything's sad nowadays. So I want you to come to my show and forget about the world and just laugh at my life. We're going to laugh with me and at me, and hopefully you find some joy in that to just escape for a minute, It's my goal.
So you're currently on tour, and
I am.
But we have to talk about that right after the commercial. Here we go.
Ah, yes. Come in.
So I have
Madamania knows what you want. Madamania knows all.
that's great.
You want an audience to watch your short films.
No, actually, I need...
You want to market your successful podcast.
No, I actually...
You want to live stream video games.
Actually, I want to be able to do it all at once in front of a live audience.
I want to be able to do it all the time. No. You want to be able to do it all at the same time.
Uppercut.
Okay, I got it. See? Madamania knows the solution.
I love this music.
That was a really fast commercial. It was about a half second long. So now we can continue talking. So sometimes things just don't work out. It's like relationships. So you're from Michigan area, but today you're in Seattle. You have a show tonight, or?
I don't have a show. I'm off for the week. My next show is actually going to be in Miami, Florida. So I live in Seattle now.
Are you walking to Miami or taking a bus?
I mean, if I leave now, I'll probably be there in time for the show. But I have a week to prep, so definitely not walking.
Oh, that's good. That's good. What's it like to be on tour as a comedian? I mean, when you go into the stores, do people recognize you? I mean, like I said, I sent that note to that random guy on Facebook. Boom, he knew you.
Yeah.
Do people walk up to you in the mall and say, "Tell me a joke, man, tell me a joke"?
Not usually that. That does happen, though. Like, if I hop into an Uber, they'll say, "What do you do?" or "Why are you in town?" And if I make the fatal mistake of telling them I'm a comedian, typically they'll say, "Tell me a joke." And I'm like, it's not like that. I don't, open your car door on the street and say, "Drive me somewhere." So it is not how it works. You can buy a ticket to the show, though, mister. But typically I'll just tell them I'm a financial analyst, and it stops there. But people do stop me on the street, and they'll stop me in the stores and things if they recognize me. Typically it's my fans, which I am a strong believer that in comedy you're nothing without your fans, so I'm very indebted to them. I always make time for fans when they stop for me to say hello, thank them for coming to shows. And
so like I think we just lost signal here. There you are, you're back.
New world.
So you ever run into rednecks walking up to you going, "Alexa, man, you're a comedian. Are you funny?"
Oh, it's not just that. It's anybody. People say that all the time, especially if they don't know who I am. And then I say, "Come to a show, find out." But the other thing, too, is sometimes people will straight up be like, "You're not funny." Like, this happens to every comedian. And the whole thing is, you really can't tell a comedian that they're not funny, especially a comedian who's working and successful and is able to support their own life in comedy, because comedy is so relative. And if you think about 5 comedians, so many people are into that and so many people are not into that, but that doesn't mean that they're not funny. It's just not, that's just not what you're into. So I don't believe that any comedian's not funny. So whenever people say, are you funny? I say, come find out for yourself, because it might be for you, but it also might not be.
That's true. It's all subjective.
I'm content with that too. And I also know that I'm not for everybody, and I'm fine with that. But if it's not for you, go down the road, find another comic. But
gotta be
if
something
it is
else.
for you, come have a seat at my table. Let's eat and laugh.
Do you ever walk away from the shows like, I mean, not everybody knows that not every show is the best show. Sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, this show was rough, and say to yourself, I want to go back to teach. Did it ever happen?
No, God, no. Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Listen, people always ask me, do you miss teaching? I don't miss teaching. I miss the kids. I miss working with them and playing with them and making them enjoy life and teaching them how to be a good person and how to interact with each other, and that I miss. I don't miss the parents, the paperwork, the politics, the poop, none of that. None of that. But, you know, teaching, it was great, and if I ever had to go back, I would, but I don't think I would ever actively put myself into that, because I also believe that in the position that I'm in now, when I'm on stage, I talk a lot about education as a whole, and I believe that the education system's pretty broken, and I don't have a target on my back right now. I don't have a district who can come back at me and say, you can't say that about teaching. Well, no one's stopping me, so I'm on stage just telling the truth, and if I spit the truth about what's actually going on in education, then hopefully someone will listen and start to make some change.
So you have to deal with the parents all the time. And we know that parents send crazy emails, and we're going to show that clip in a second. But what's the stupidest thing a parent has ever said to you to your face?
Oh, I had a parent one time, and it wasn't even anything bad. I was just telling her about her kid and how he was underperforming in a specific subject level. He wasn't meeting the grade level expectation, which is, first of all, fine because they're kids, and second of all, fixable. We just need to figure out how we need to get them back up there. But I was telling this to her about her kid, and she stopped me and she said, Mr. D, I don't think you understand what's happening here. I pay my taxes, so technically you work for me. And I am from Detroit, so I just said to her, that's so funny, I pay my taxes too. So technically I'm self-employed, and you are more than welcome to get out of my office.
Whoa! That's nice.
I don't, just like, don't, like, come correct or don't come at all, right?
Definitely. When I was in 4th grade, I remember saying that very thing to a teacher. You work for me. The next thing I know, I ended up in the principal's office. That's all I remember.
No.
Not the thing you want to say to a teacher.
No.
Well, I want to share these clips because they're hilarious. I was talking about it this morning with a couple other people, and there was a particular message. I can hardly believe that parents really say these things, especially the one about the 6th grader. You know, he's only allowed to smoke at the dinner table. Are you kidding me?
Right.
This is insane.
Right.
And people actually think that this is okay? And there's
everybody thinks what they do behind their walls is fine. And sometimes as a teacher, you're the first person to give them a wake-up call saying, what you're doing is actually not acceptable, and they don't want to hear it, especially from you. So it's like, whoa, okay.
I mean, how could they even go through life this way? They went to school too, and then they got out and forgot everything.
You'd be shocked. Teaching is a healthy look into a slice of America that you never knew existed. You think that was alarming? Imagine what I didn't say in the video.
Oh, well, we have to talk about that. Let's watch the video and then talk about the things you didn't say. Roll it.
Hello! Earlier this week I asked you, what's the wildest thing a classroom parent ever said to you? Now, I was prepared to hear some wildness. I was not prepared to hear what you went through. A parent once told me I have a great voice and I should consider working on a phone sex line. It would take everything in my power for me not to respond with, "Oh yeah?" My child was a war hero in a past life, and I will need him to be honored during the School Veterans Day program. If everyone could just remove their hats and lower their heads for Billy in 6th grade, he served in Nam in a dream one time. A parent claimed that their son did not plagiarize an essay from a student at Stanford. His son was in 7th grade, but dad claimed maybe the Stanford student stole it from him. Can you not give such hard homework? It's making my husband feel less like a man because he can't help her with it. Honey. A parent showed up at school and demanded my head on a platter because I told the other kids to beat up her daughter, and we all stood around in a circle taking turns while I laughed. When I said that didn't happen, the mom lunged across the table towards me screaming, saying, "Are you calling my kid a liar?" Let me be the first one to tell you that your kid's not always telling the truth, okay? We thought that your house would be a great place for Anna to stay this weekend while we're out of town. She can go home with you Friday and return with you on Monday. That sounds great. For you. My kid doesn't need to read better. He makes the local paper in football. Well, hopefully he's at least able to read contracts so he doesn't get bamboozled by the NFL. Does me being a room mom count as community service? Honestly, great question. I was infringing on her child's right to free speech because I didn't give him enough time to talk about what he got for Christmas. Well, let me exhibit my right of free speech and tell you how this is insane. You lose my daughter's assignments just like the teachers in middle school did. Are we realizing a pattern? Can you give Billy some coffee? He likes decaf. Oh, sure. Why doesn't he just pull up a seat at my desk so we can gab about the gals in the neighborhood while we're at it? I work. I don't have time to deal with my child's education. That's not the crazy part. My principal then made me apologize to her for bothering her and said I needed to make it right. Listen to me. Show this to your boss. I'll wait. You need to be removed. You need to be removed now. We don't use pronouns. Oh, you don't use pronouns? Like any of them? A parent wrote a formal complaint for our school board about how my chest size, stop, this can't be real, was a distraction. The men that have to speak with me about their children have no choice but to be distracted, and she demanded I have surgery. There's one word for this, the word is audacity. A parent chaperoning on a field trip to the zoo with my group while looking at the underground water exhibit. Is that a big fish or something? It was a polar bear. A mom asked me if there was a humane society for children. Yes, it's called an orphanage, and you need to watch Annie. A parent called the school and asked for me. She wanted to know why her daughter was having dreams of me pulling her hair. I don't know, lady, I'm not a dream analyzer. She then said that she thought that her daughter wasn't safe in my class and removed her. I think that you just need to be okay with that. Can he bring a stuffed animal to class? They were talking about a taxidermy animal. My response was, absolutely not. At conferences, it was brought up to the parents that their 6th grade son was smoking on campus. Parents responded with, "Damn kid, we told him he could only smoke at the dinner table." I'm clairvoyant, and I know what will happen to you if you don't pass my child. Well, thanks for the free reading, Miss Cleo. I don't want my child to go out for recess because of the cosmic rays that are being sent from space. So I kept him inside and taught him how to tie his shoes. You can't make this stuff up. Hey,
Oh my gosh. It is hard to believe that people are that, what's the right adjective for this? That is
Have that
unreal.
level of audacity.
And somebody actually went to the school board and said her chest is too big, she needs surgery.
Can you believe it? I actually can, but yes.
That's hard to believe, except I have seen some clips of the things people say at the school board, and you're like, wow.
Oh yeah, it blows my mind. Those school board clips are great. The funny part too is parents sometimes, not all, but a lot, will bypass the teacher and go straight to the highest representative. And it's like, you could have just looked like an ass clown in front of me, but you took it to that level. Okay, baby, good on ya.
Oh my gosh, wow, I live a pretty isolated life. When I saw those clips, I've seen the clip 3 times now, and I laugh every single time. And every single time, it's so absurd, the things that people are saying.
Truly. Truly.
Now, you said before we watched it, there's stuff you didn't say in that clip. I'm really curious what you could possibly not have said.
I mean, there's so many things that have happened down the road, but really what happened was during the pandemic. And in the first part of that, we had to teach online, and that meant that for the first time ever, we truly got a little glimpse of these kids in their home environment. When I tell you the amount of naked parents that I saw walk past the screen, Jeff, you would be alarmed. And I'm not,
you got to be kidding
no one
me.
that one would desire to want to walk naked past the screen either, but it happened.
I am speechless.
Just the kids on there in the living room, on their computer doing their work, and a naked parent just walks to the shower. It was just like, oh, okay, I guess that's normal. I guess we're teaching in France now. Okay, here we go.
And of course, all the other students see the same thing, so everybody got some sex education that day.
It just was a wonderful segue.
Perfect segue into saying, don't say beaver, children. Today we don't study beaver. Wow. Holy cow.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely not what I thought that I would. In the beginning of the pandemic, we were doing, here in the studio, we do a lot of stuff besides this ridiculous show where I don't make good jokes. We also did a lot of virtual conferences for corporations and schools and whatnot, just like you said. In the very beginning of the pandemic, I worked with an organization that did graduation ceremonies for New York City schools. And that was rather alarming, the things that we saw. I was so surprised. So I can sort of relate to that, but that really takes the cake. The parents running around naked in the middle of class. That
never-ending show. The jokes write themselves sometimes.
No doubt. Well, where are you headed next? Today you're in Seattle. Where's the next destination? Besides, you said it's Miami,
in
right?
Miami. What's that?
You're going to Miami, but then aren't you coming back out here? Because we're in Boise, Idaho.
Yes, I sure am. I'm going to Miami, to Salt Lake City, then to Boise. After that, I'm literally covering every corner of the U.S. I'll be in Boston, Atlanta. I'm going to be in Rhode Island. Everywhere. You can check for my tour dates at MrDtimes3.com. Every single city is listed there. And the Boise one's just around the corner.
Are you working on an international? Because we have a lot of international viewers.
Yes, I am.
I wonder if the jokes would go well in India.
You know what's funny is I did my Australian tour was right before the pandemic, and I learned about how you have to adjust some of your American jokes to make them a little bit more broad. But I will be in the UK and hopefully Australia again coming up in 2023.
That should be interesting, because we know the UK often is not the same sense of humor.
No, we'll see what happens. I have a big UK fan base though, so
well, then you're going to be okay.
Let's see what happens.
Okay. Do you have to make it more dry or more wet humor?
I don't change myself for audiences. I want to be who I am. So I'll still do my thing, and hopefully they'll just appreciate a little something different, a little different flavor coming to them.
Nice. Well, they're in for a really good show. I mean, we've only seen 3 clips here, and they're hilarious. Hilarious.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm going to follow you. There's no question about it now. Well, besides, now I'm one of your fans, and you're right here with me. This is beautiful.
I love it.
Really
I love
exciting.
it. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
I'd love to hear about the rest of your tour when you come back from the UK. That would be really, love to see clips of that and how a UK audience responded to you. That'd be fun.
Done deal. We'll make it happen.
Sweet, let's do that. Thank you for being here. Folks, friends and family at home, remember your spelling test. Spell all the words properly. Even if you have to make them up, at least, hey, you spell them right. I'm your host, Geoffrey Hill, and I love you all.